Smile, or you'll regret it tonight," Vanessa hissed in my ear, her perfectly manicured nails digging into my forearm as the elevator doors slid open to the executive floor. My stomach dropped as I saw him standing there, Harrison Steele himself, watching us step into the marble-floored corridor with those impossibly dark eyes that seemed to see straight through every carefully constructed wall I'd built around myself. I couldn't smile, not when my hands were shaking so badly I had to clasp them together to hide it. Not when my 8-year-old daughter Lily was home with a fever I couldn't afford to worry about because I'd already missed 2 days this month. Not when the stack of medical bills on my kitchen counter had grown so tall it might topple over at any moment. And definitely not when Vanessa had just made it crystal clear that my job, my livelihood, my daughter's stability all depended on pleasing a man I'd never even spoken to. But I tried. God help me. I tried to pull my lips into something resembling a pleasant expression as Harrison's gaze locked onto mine. It must have looked more like a grimace because Vanessa's grip tightened painfully and I heard her sharp intake of breath. "Mr. Steele," Vanessa purred, her voice honey-sweet as she released my arm and stepped forward, her hips swaying in that deliberate way she'd perfected. "We've brought the quarterly reports you requested. Rebecca here compiled the data analysis. I'd done more than compile it. I'd spent 3 weeks rebuilding their entire tracking system after discovering their previous analyst had been fudging numbers for almost a year. I'd worked until 2 a.m. most nights, surviving on coffee and the cold pizza Lily and I shared for dinner because it was cheaper than cooking. I'd saved this company from what could have been a catastrophic audit. But standing there in my discount store blouse with a button, I'd replaced myself because the original had fallen off, clutching those reports like a life preserver. I felt about 2 inches tall. Harrison didn't even glance at Vanessa. His eyes stayed fixed on me with an intensity that made my skin prickle with awareness. He was younger than I'd expected, maybe late 30s, with sharp features that would have been cold if not for the slight crease between his brows as he studied me. His charcoal suit probably cost more than 3 months of my rent. "You're Rebecca Ashford," he said, and it wasn't a question. His voice was deep, controlled, the kind of voice that expected to be listened to. "Walk with me." It wasn't a request either. Vanessa made a small sound of protest, but Harrison was already turning, clearly expecting me to follow. I shot Vanessa a panicked look, but her face had gone hard with something that looked like jealousy mixed with warning. The message was clear: don't mess this up. I hurried after him, my sensible flats squeaking slightly on the polished floor while his Italian leather shoes made no sound at all. He led me past his assistant's empty desk. It was nearly 7 in the evening. Most people had gone home, and into his office. The space was massive, all floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights beginning to twinkle in the dusk. Everything was dark wood and leather, expensive and masculine and intimidating. He closed the door behind us with a soft click that sounded unnaturally loud in the sudden quiet. "Sit," he said, gesturing to one of the chairs facing his desk. I sat, perching on the edge because sinking back into that butter-soft leather felt presumptuous. I placed the reports on his desk with trembling hands and clasped them back together in my lap, trying to look professional and calm when I felt anything but. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Probably Lily's babysitter, probably about her fever. I couldn't check, not now. Harrison didn't sit. Instead, he moved to the windows, hands in his pockets, silhouetted against the dying light. For a long moment he said nothing, and the silence stretched so thin I thought it might snap. "Tell me about the discrepancies you found," he finally said. I blinked. "Sir?" "In the quarterly reports, you found discrepancies. I want to know what they were and why no one brought them to my attention before now." My mouth went dry. This was it. The moment where I either told the truth and potentially destroyed whatever fragile job security I had, or I lied to a man who clearly already knew the answers to his questions. The previous analyst, I started, hating how my voice wavered. Thomas Kirkland, he was adjusting the revenue projections to show consistent growth. Small adjustments, nothing that would trigger immediate red flags, but over 11 months, the cumulative effect was significant. We're not performing as well as the board thinks we are in the consumer products division. How much? Approximately $8.3 million in overstatement. Harrison turned from the window, and the look on his face made my breath catch. It wasn't anger, exactly, but something far more dangerous, something controlled and cold and absolutely ruthless. Thomas Kirkland was fired 3 weeks ago, he said softly. Do you know why? I shook my head. Because I've been conducting my own internal investigation. I've been watching the numbers, Rebecca. I've been watching a lot of things. He moved closer, coming around his desk to lean against it, arms crossed over his chest. He was close enough now that I could smell his cologne, something expensive and woodsy. Do you know what I find most interesting? No, sir, I whispered. You discovered this discrepancy within 1 week of being moved to the analysis department. 1 week. Thomas Kirkland worked here for 6 years. My senior financial officer has been reviewing these reports for 3 years. And yet a woman who was working in basic data entry until last month found what they all missed or ignored. Why do you think that is? It was a trap. It had to be a trap. If I suggested that his senior people were incompetent or complicit, I'd be marked as a troublemaker. If I downplayed my own work, I'd look weak and dishonest. I don't know, sir. Maybe I just looked at it differently. Fresh eyes? Or maybe you're not afraid to see the truth even when it's inconvenient. He tilted his head, studying me with that unnerving focus. Why are you shaking? The question was so direct, so unexpected, that I couldn't formulate a polite deflection. I'm scared, I admitted, of me, of losing my job, of disappointing people, of making mistakes I can't afford to make. The words tumbled out before I could stop them. My daughter is home sick right now, and I can't be there because I've already missed my quota of absences this month. I have $17 in my checking account until Friday. I replaced my own button because I couldn't buy a new shirt. So yes, I'm shaking because this job is everything and I don't understand what's happening right now or what you want from me. The silence that followed my outburst was deafening. I just confessed my complete desperation to one of the wealthiest men in the city. I'd shown him exactly how powerless I was. Vanessa's warning echoed in my head. Smile, or you'll regret it tonight. And I hadn't smiled. I'd crumbled instead. How old is your daughter? Harrison asked, his voice gentler than I'd heard it yet. 8. What's wrong with her? Just a fever, probably a cold. She gets them sometimes. Her immune system isn't the strongest, but she'll be fine. I was babbling now, unable to stop. She's tough. We're both tough. We're fine. I'm sure you are. He moved then, walking back around his desk and pulling open a drawer. He extracted something and returned, holding out his hand. Take this. It was his business card, heavy stock with embossed lettering. I took it with numb fingers. My personal cell number is on the back, he said. If you or your daughter need anything, you call that number. Understood? I flipped the card over. There was indeed a number written in bold, masculine handwriting. I looked up at him, confused and suspicious. Why? Because talent like yours doesn't come along often, and I don't intend to lose it because of preventable stress. He returned to his chair, finally sitting, and gestured to the reports. I'm promoting you to senior financial analyst, effective immediately. 40% salary increase, full benefits including medical, dental, and vision for you and your daughter. Flexible schedule as long as the work gets done. You'll report directly to me. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I don't understand. Which part? Any of it, all of it. Why me? Because you're the only person in this building who looked at those numbers and chose honesty over convenience. Because you're working until 2 in the morning to do it right instead of doing it fast. Because you're terrified right now and still telling me the truth. He leaned forward, elbows on his desk, eyes intense. I built this company from nothing, Rebecca. I know what it looks like when someone wants to prove themselves, when they're hungry for something better. I know dedication when I see it, and I'm not in the habit of letting assets walk away. Assets. The word should have felt clinical, cold. But the way he said it, looking at me like I was something valuable and rare, made warmth bloom in my chest despite my better judgment. What about Vanessa? I asked. She's been here for 5 years. She's going to... Vanessa is a competent assistant who excels at managing schedules and maintaining appearances. She has no head for analysis and no stomach for difficult truths. She's also been spreading rumors that promotions on the executive floor come with certain expectations. His jaw tightened. Expectations that I want to be very clear do not exist. Your promotion is based entirely on merit. Your relationship with me is and will remain professional. Anyone who suggests otherwise will find themselves looking for new employment. My phone buzzed again, insistent. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I'm sorry, I need to. Answer it, he said immediately. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands. It was Mrs. Chen, Lily's babysitter. Hello? Rebecca, honey, I think you need to come home. Lily's fever is up to 103 and she's asking for you. I'd feel better if we got her to a doctor. My heart stopped. I'll be right there. 10 minutes. I ended the call and stood up so fast I nearly knocked over the chair. I'm sorry. I have to go. My daughter. Go, Harrison said, already standing. Take tomorrow off. Take the rest of the week if you need it. I can't. I've already... Rebecca! The command in his voice stopped me. You work for me now. I'm telling you to take care of your daughter. That's an order? I nodded, clutching my phone and his business card, and ran. The emergency room was a nightmare of fluorescent lights and worried waiting. Lily's fever had climbed to 104 by the time we arrived, and they'd rushed her back immediately. Influenza, they said. She needed IV fluids and monitoring. They admitted her, hooking her up to machines that beeped and hummed while she slept fitfully, her small hand hot in mine. I sat in the uncomfortable chair beside her hospital bed and tried not to think about the bills this would generate. Tried not to calculate how many months I'd be paying off one night in the emergency room, plus an admission. The benefits Harrison had mentioned wouldn't kick in immediately. There was always a waiting period, and... My phone lit up with an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me check. Hello? I whispered. It's Harrison Steele. His voice was quiet, professional. I wanted to check on your daughter. How did you get my... I stopped. He was the CEO. Of course he had access to employee files. She has influenza. They admitted her for IV fluids and fever management. Which hospital? I hesitated. St. Mary's General. I'm adding you to the company health insurance effective today. Retroactive to cover this admission. The HR director is processing the paperwork now. You'll have the documentation within the hour. That's not possible, I said numbly. There are waiting periods, enrollment windows. Not for senior executives. I have discretion for immediate coverage in exceptional circumstances. This qualifies. Papers rustled in the background. The policy has a $500 deductible and then covers 90%. No co-pays for hospitalization. The bill will be sent to our benefits coordinator. You don't need to worry about it. I pressed my hand over my mouth, fighting back tears. Why are you doing this? The pause that followed felt heavy with unspoken things. Because I can, he finally said. Because you shouldn't have to choose between your daughter's health and financial ruin. Because it's the right thing to do. Thank you, I whispered. I don't know how to thank you. Get some rest. Call me if anything changes. He hung up before I could respond. I sat there in the dim hospital room, listening to my daughter breathe and the machines beep, holding a business card with a personal phone number, and wondering what I'd stumbled into. Lily was released 2 days later, weak but recovering. I kept her home for the rest of the week as Harrison had insisted, working remotely on my ancient laptop while she slept, and colored and slowly regained her energy. HR had indeed sent the insurance documentation. The hospital bill, when it arrived, showed a balance of $87 after insurance. I cried looking at it, remembering the $4,000 emergency room bill from 2 years ago that I was still paying off in $20 monthly installments. On Monday morning, I returned to the office with Lily safely back in school and my nerves strung tight as wire. I'd been moved to the executive floor, my new desk positioned in a small office with actual walls and a door and a window overlooking the city. There was a nameplate, Rebecca Ashford, Senior Financial Analyst. Vanessa walked past my office 3 times that morning without speaking, her expression growing colder each time. Other people stared and whispered. I heard the rumors already starting. She must have slept with him. No one gets promoted that fast. Did you see how young she is? How inexperienced? What could she possibly have that qualified her? I ignored them and focused on the work Harrison had assigned, a complete audit of the consumer products division, tracking down every discrepancy and building a comprehensive report on the financial health of the company's largest revenue stream. At 2 o'clock, my desk phone rang. "Mr. Steele would like to see you in his office," his assistant said crisply. I saved my work and walked down the hall on unsteady legs, aware of eyes following me. Harrison's door was open, but I knocked anyway. "Come in, close the door." I did, and once again found myself in that massive office with those floor-to-ceiling windows. Harrison stood at a work table off to the side, sleeves rolled up to his elbows, examining what looked like architectural plans. "How's your daughter?" he asked without looking up. "Much better, thank you." "And thank you for the insurance. I can't tell you what that—" "You've thanked me already?" He glanced up then, and something in his expression made my breath catch. "How are you settling into the new position?" "Fine. Good. The work is challenging, but I'm managing." "And the office environment?" I hesitated. "I'm adjusting." "That's not what I asked." He set down the pencil he'd been holding and gave me his full attention. "I've heard the rumors, Rebecca. The speculation about how you earned your promotion. It's exactly the kind of poison I was trying to prevent. So I'm going to ask you directly. Has anyone said anything to you that made you uncomfortable? Has anyone suggested that I expect anything inappropriate from you?" My face flushed hot. There's been talk, but nothing directed at me specifically. Just whispers. Names. "I'm not going to—" "Rebecca." He moved closer, and I had to tilt my head back to maintain eye contact. "I've built this company on the principle that talent and hard work matter more than politics or appearances. I will not allow that culture to be poisoned by people who can't imagine success without some ulterior motive. If someone is creating a hostile work environment, I need to know." "It's not hostile. It's just awkward. They'll move on to the next piece of gossip eventually." Unless we give them something better to talk about. His eyes glinted with something that might have been amusement. How do you feel about opera? I blinked at the non sequitur. I've never been. The company has a box at the Riverside Theater. This Friday, there's a gala performance followed by a donor reception. High-profile event, lots of press, all the major players in the city's business community. I need to attend, and I need a date who can discuss quarterly earnings and financial projections intelligently when the inevitable business conversations begin. My heart started pounding. You want me to go with you? As a date? As a colleague, he corrected, but something in his tone suggested the distinction was more complicated than he was making it sound. I'm tired of attending these functions with empty-headed socialites who can't tell the difference between revenue and profit. I want someone who can actually contribute to the conversations that matter. You'd be doing me a favor. It was a terrible idea. Going to a public event with Harrison Steele would only fuel the rumors, make the whispers worse, paint a target on my back for everyone who already resented my promotion. But the way he was looking at me, like my answer actually mattered, like my company was something he wanted, rather than something he was obligated to endure, made refusal impossible. I don't have anything appropriate to wear, I admitted. Wardrobe will be handled. Say yes, Rebecca. I took a breath and jumped. Yes? The smile that crossed his face was subtle but genuine, transforming his severe features into something almost boyish. Good. My driver will pick you up at 6 on Friday. I'll text you the details. The rest of the week passed in a blur of work and mounting anxiety. True to his word, Harrison had sent a stylist to my apartment on Thursday evening with 3 gowns to choose from, all in my size. All stunning. I selected a deep emerald dress with a fitted bodice and flowing skirt that made me feel like someone else entirely. Someone confident and sophisticated and deserving of standing next to a man like Harrison Steele. Lily thought I looked like a princess. Mrs. Chen, watching her for the evening, agreed to stay late and promised to call if anything went wrong. The driver arrived precisely at 6 in a black town car that probably cost more than my annual salary. The ride to the theater felt surreal, watching the city slide past through tinted windows while I tried to calm my racing heart. Harrison was waiting in front of the theater, devastating in a black tuxedo that emphasized his broad shoulders and lean frame. When he saw me step out of the car, something flashed in his eyes that looked almost like hunger before he controlled it. You look beautiful, he said simply, offering his arm. I took it, and we walked into the Lion's Den together. The theater was full of the city's elite, dripping in diamonds and designer labels. Cameras flashed as we entered, and I heard the murmurs start immediately. Who is she? Where did she come from? Harrison Steele never brings dates. This must be serious. He kept me close, his hand steady on the small of my back as he navigated the social minefield with practiced ease. He introduced me to everyone important: the mayor, several city council members, CEOs of competing firms, philanthropists and power brokers whose names I recognized from news articles. This is Rebecca Ashford, my new senior financial analyst, he said each time, and the way he said it, with pride, with confidence, made me stand a little straighter, despite my nerves. During the performance, sitting in the plush seats of the company box, I was intensely aware of Harrison beside me. His arm rested on the back of my seat, not quite touching, but close enough that I could feel the heat of him. Once, when the music swelled in a particularly moving aria, I glanced over and found him watching me instead of the stage. What? I whispered. You're crying, he murmured. I touched my cheek, surprised to find it wet. It's beautiful. Yes, he agreed, but he was still looking at me, not the performance. The reception afterward was held in the theater's grand ballroom, all glittering chandeliers and champagne and strategic networking. Harrison stayed at my side, deflecting the more aggressive social climbers while introducing me to people who might actually become useful professional contacts. I was talking with the CFO of a major manufacturing firm about supply chain analytics when Vanessa appeared, stunning in a red gown that plunged dangerously low. She had a man on her arm I didn't recognize, older, wearing too much cologne. "Harrison," she purred, completely ignoring me. "What a surprise to see you here with company. I thought you always attended these events solo." "Plans change," Harrison said coolly. "Vanessa, I don't believe you've been formally introduced to Rebecca in her new capacity. Rebecca is heading up our financial restructuring initiative." Vanessa's smile sharpened to something cruel. "How wonderful. I'm sure her talents are very diverse." The implication was clear, and several nearby conversations quieted as people turned to listen. I felt Harrison tense beside me, but before he could respond, I stepped forward slightly. "They are," I said calmly, meeting Vanessa's eyes. "For instance, I'm talented at finding discrepancies in financial reports that could lead to federal investigations. I'm talented at rebuilding corrupted tracking systems, and I'm particularly talented at recognizing when someone is projecting their own insecurities onto others." Vanessa's face flushed an ugly red. "You have no idea what you're talking about." "Don't I? I've seen the expense reports, Vanessa, the personal purchases billed to the company, the extended lunch breaks charged as client meetings. I'm conducting a comprehensive audit, remember? I see everything." I took a sip of champagne, amazed at my own boldness. "I'm sure it's all just innocent mistakes, of course, easy to fix before it becomes a real problem." The color drained from her face. She opened her mouth, closed it, and then turned and walked away without another word, dragging her confused date behind her. Harrison's hand found mine, his fingers interlacing with mine in a gesture that felt far more intimate than anything we'd done so far. "Remind me never to get on your bad side," he murmured, and I could hear the approval in his voice. "Was that too much?" I asked, suddenly worried I'd overstepped. "That was perfect." He turned to face me fully, still holding my hand, seemingly unconcerned with the dozens of eyes watching us. "Rebecca, I need to tell you something." My heart hammered. "Okay. I didn't ask you here tonight just because you can discuss financial projections, although that's certainly a bonus. I asked you here because I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since you walked into my office shaking like a leaf and still told me the truth. Because you're brilliant and brave, and you don't even realize it. Because watching you with your daughter in that hospital, the way you held her hand and sang to her when you thought no one was listening, made me realize I've spent 10 years building an empire and forgotten what actually matters." I stared at him, unable to process what I was hearing. "Harrison, I know this is complicated. I know I'm your boss, and there are power dynamics, and 1,000 reasons this is a terrible idea. But I'm standing here in front of half the city's business elite, and I don't care who sees or what they think. I want you, Rebecca, not as an employee, not as an asset. As a woman, I'm quickly becoming obsessed with." "You don't know me," I whispered, but my hand tightened around his. "Then let me. Have dinner with me tomorrow. Just us, no business, no pretense. Let me take you somewhere and learn everything there is to know about Rebecca Ashford." I should have said no, should have protected myself, protected my job, protected Lily from the inevitable complications. But looking into Harrison's dark eyes, seeing the vulnerability there that probably no one else ever got to see, I couldn't. "Yes," I breathed. He smiled. A real smile that transformed his entire face, and then he did something that made the entire ballroom go silent. He lifted my hand to his lips and kissed my knuckles, a a gesture so old-fashioned and romantic and publicly claiming that there was no mistaking his intentions. "Harrison," I hissed, acutely aware of the phones coming out, the pictures being taken. "Everyone is watching." "Good," he said simply. "Let them watch. Let them see that I choose you, Rebecca. Let them know that anyone who has a problem with your position in my company will have to answer to me personally." The next morning, my phone exploded with messages. Pictures of us at the gala were everywhere. Social media, business news sites, even a few gossip blogs. Harrison Steele and his mysterious new love interest. The powerful CEO finally caught by an unknown analyst. Most of the coverage was positive, speculating about our relationship with the kind of breathless excitement usually reserved for celebrity couples. But there were darker comments too. Gold digger, social climber. She must have something on him. No way he'd actually fall for someone like her. I was reading through them, anxiety building in my chest, when Harrison called. "Don't read the comments," he said without preamble. Too late. "Rebecca, listen to me. This is what happens when you step into the spotlight. People make assumptions. They try to tear down what they don't understand. But none of it matters unless you let it. Easy for you to say. You're used to this." "I'm used to being criticized for business decisions, not for who I care about. This is new territory for me, too." He paused. "Do you regret last night?" "No," I admitted. "I'm scared, but I don't regret it." "Then have dinner with me tonight. Wear jeans. Bring Lily if you want. I'd like to meet her properly." That stopped me cold. "You want to meet my daughter?" "I told you, Rebecca. I want to know everything about you. She's the most important part of your life, which means she's important to me. If that's too fast, tell me. But I don't see the point in pretending this is casual when we both know it isn't." My eyes burned with sudden tears. "Okay," I managed. "Okay, yes, she'd like that." He picked us up at 6 in a regular car, not the town car, and he was dressed in jeans and a sweater that made him look younger and less intimidating. Lily was shy at first, hiding behind my legs, but Harrison won her over by asking about her artwork and actually listening to her rambling explanations of each piece. We went to a small Italian restaurant in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place with checkered tablecloths and family recipes, and no pretense. Harrison ordered in passable Italian and made Lily giggle with his exaggerated attempts to twirl spaghetti. He asked about her school, her friends, her favorite books. He never once checked his phone or seemed impatient with her chatter. Watching him with my daughter, seeing the genuine warmth in his eyes when she showed him how to make a napkin swan, I felt something crack open in my chest. Something that had been locked away since Lily's father had walked out when she was a baby. Since I'd decided that men were a complication I couldn't afford, and love was a luxury for people with more security than I'd ever have. After dinner, we walked through a nearby park, Lily running ahead to the playground while Harrison and I sat on a bench and watched her swing. "Her father?" Harrison asked quietly. "Gone before she was born. Didn't want the responsibility." I wrapped my arms around myself. "It's been just us for a long time. You've done an amazing job with her. She's smart and kind and confident. That's all you. She's the best thing I ever did." I looked at him. "This is real for you? This isn't just some fantasy where you play house for a few weeks and then remember you're a billionaire CEO and I'm just... Don't." His hand found mine on the bench between us. "Don't diminish yourself. You're not just anything, Rebecca. You're extraordinary. And yes, this is real for me. More real than anything has been in longer than I can remember." I wanted to believe him, wanted to let myself fall into the fairy tale of the powerful man sweeping me off my feet. but I'd learned long ago that fairy tales don't pay the bills or hold you when you're scared. I need you to understand something, I said carefully. I have a daughter who depends on me. I can't afford to take risks with her stability. If this falls apart, if it gets messy, she's the one who suffers. So I need to know you're sure before we go any further. Harrison was quiet for a long moment, watching Lily climb the jungle gym with fierce concentration. When I was 25, he finally said, I started my company with $15,000 borrowed from my father and a business plan everyone said would fail. I worked 100-hour weeks for 3 years straight. I ate ramen and slept in my office and ignored every person who told me I was being unrealistic. Do you know why I succeeded? I shook my head. Because I don't do anything halfway. When I commit to something, when I decide it matters, I give it everything I have. Building that company wasn't a whim or a hobby. It was my entire life. He turned to look at me, and the intensity in his eyes stole my breath. I'm not a man who plays games, Rebecca. I don't do casual. I don't do temporary. So when I tell you this is real, when I tell you I want to build something with you, I need you to understand what that means. It means I'm all in. It means I'm not walking away when things get hard. It means your daughter's stability matters to me because she matters to you. Harrison, I'm falling in love with you, he said simply. I know it's fast. I know it's complicated. But I've spent my entire adult life analyzing risk and reward. And you, Rebecca Ashford, are worth every possible risk. I kissed him, leaned across the bench, and pressed my lips to his, and felt him respond with a hunger that matched my own. His hand came up to cup my face, gentle and possessive all at once, and for a moment the entire world narrowed to just us, just this perfect moment of connection and possibility. Mommy's kissing! Lily's delighted shout broke us apart, both of us laughing breathlessly. Come here, troublemaker, Harrison called, and Lily ran over, letting him lift her onto his lap like it was the most natural thing in the world. What do you think? Is your mom allowed to kiss me? Lily considered this with exaggerated seriousness. Only if you're nice to her, and if you like pancakes. We make pancakes on Sundays. I love pancakes, Harrison said solemnly. Especially on Sundays. Then okay, Lily decided. You can kiss her. 3 months later, I stood in Harrison's office. Our office, really. Since I spent almost as much time there as my own these days, reviewing the final quarterly reports before they went to the board. The financial restructuring had been a massive success, uncovering not just the discrepancies I'd originally found, but a systemic problem with oversight that had cost the company millions. Harrison had cleaned house, bringing in new leadership and implementing the tracking systems I'd designed. Vanessa was gone, quietly let go after the expense report audit revealed over $40,000 in fraudulent charges. She'd left without making a scene, probably grateful Harrison hadn't pressed charges. I'd been proven right, my instincts validated, my position secured. The rumors had died down once people realized I actually knew what I was doing. I'd earned respect through competence and long hours and results that spoke for themselves. But the best part of the last 3 months hadn't been the professional success. It had been the way Harrison showed up at my apartment on Sunday mornings with ingredients for elaborate pancake recipes. The way he'd taken Lily to a daddy-daughter dance at her school when she'd been the only one without a father figure to go with. The way he'd held me during a panic attack about money, even though I now made more than enough and told me it was okay, that healing from scarcity took time, that he'd be there for every step of it. You're thinking too hard, Harrison said from behind me, his arms sliding around my waist as he pulled me back against his chest. I can see the wheels turning. Just thinking about how much has changed, I admitted, leaning into his warmth. Good changes? The best changes. I turned in his arms to face him, I never thought I could have this, any of this. Get used to it, he murmured, kissing my forehead. Because I have a question to ask you, and depending on your answer, things are about to change even more. My heart started pounding. What question? He stepped back, and for a moment I thought I'd misread the situation entirely. But then he was lowering himself to one knee, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket, and my hand flew to my mouth as tears sprang to my eyes. Rebecca Ashford, you walked into my life shaking with fear and showed me more courage than I'd seen in 10 years of business. You've challenged me, impressed me, made me laugh, and made me want things I'd convinced myself I didn't need. You've let me into your life, into your daughter's life, and trusted me with the things that matter most to you. I want to spend the rest of my life earning that trust. I want Sunday pancakes and parent-teacher conferences and every small, ordinary, extraordinary moment that makes a life together. Marry me, Rebecca. Let me be your partner in everything. Let me be the father Lily deserves. Let me love you both for the rest of our lives. I was crying too hard to speak, nodding frantically as I dropped to my knees in front of him. Yes, I finally managed. Yes, absolutely yes. He slid the ring onto my finger, a stunning emerald surrounded by diamonds that caught the light like captured fire. And then he was kissing me with a passion and tenderness that made my toes curl. I love you, I said against his lips. I love you so much. I love you too, he murmured back. Both of you, my family. We stayed there on the floor of his office for a long moment, holding each other until his assistant's knock on the door made us spring apart guiltily. Mr. Steele, the board is ready for you in the conference room, she called. Harrison helped me to my feet, both of us grinning like teenagers. Come with me, he said. To the board meeting? I want to introduce my fiancé to the board. I want everyone to know that the woman who saved this company is going to be my wife. Is that okay? I looked down at the ring on my finger, then up at the man who'd seen past my fear to the strength underneath, who'd given me chances in trust and love I'd never thought I deserved. That's more than okay, I said, taking his hand. That's perfect. We walked into that boardroom together. And when Harrison introduced me, not as his analyst, not as his employee, but as his future wife and equal partner, I stood tall and proud, knowing I'd earned my place through hard work and courage, and refusing to accept less than I was worth. The girl who'd been shaking in the elevator, terrified of losing everything, was gone. In her place was a woman who'd learned that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is take a chance on yourself. That sometimes the fairy tale is real, but only if you're brave enough to reach for it. And, as Harrison's hand squeezed mine under the conference table during the meeting, as I fielded questions from board members with confidence and expertise, as I felt the weight of the ring on my finger and knew my daughter was home safe and happy with Mrs. Chen, probably already planning the wedding in her 8-year-old imagination, I understood that this wasn't a fairy tale at all. This was better. This was real. This was earned. This was mine. And I was never letting it go. If you enjoyed the story, make sure to subscribe so you never miss the next chapter. Thank you for watching.